Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Satan. But Satan and his group wrote the Old Testament. Why? A lot of the players in it didn't understand why. Some of the scribes and some of our Old Testament prophets. But were they really prophets? No. Every time it would say, Son of man, hear the voice of God. Or God said for you to go to the people of Israel and tell them this. But when you start studying back, and you start reading some of the things that the gods did that were telling them this, that was not God. It was these fallen angels pretending to be gods, the same way Satan's going to do very shortly when he returns. And I think we're starting to see the return of these angels now through possibly some of the things we saw in Arizona 2 weeks ago. But when you study the flood and you study some of the other things of the Old Testament, then you see them written thousands of years before they were written there with the same names. Now, for instance, in the flood, the first flood, we have heard the name of Noah, and then it starts talking about the generations of Noah. Shem and Japheth are two of his sons. I think Ham was the other one. Now, Shem and Japheth are the same, or the sons of the Noah here. Even the spelling is the same. So, what are we talking about? What I'm telling you is this. And Satan has allowed it to happen mainly through the evil empire of the Roman Catholic Church, the ones that cried, crucify him, because he had the truth. Now, this goes on to say, it says, scholars, theologians alike now recognize that the biblical tales of creation, of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, the deluge, the Tower of Babel, were based on texts written down millennia earlier in Mesopotamia, especially by the Sumerians. And they, catch this, in turn clearly state that they obtained their knowledge of past events, many from a time before civilizations began, even before mankind came to be, from the writings of the Anunnaki.